And they've replaced it with pictures of David Cameron and Boris Johnson on
Well, I was
Suspect.
going to say, I thought that was a picture of Boris Johnson on that album that you held up there. I thought it was one of our last two leaders. Um, yeah, on the cover
On
of
either
that.
side of the pond, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. It's Andy and it's John, and it's time to chat up and listen to some music. So, John, you're on the mound. You're going to be offering me up something to go off and give a listen to. What, sir, do we have in store today?
So it's a band called Smash.
Ah,
Um,
as the
now
album behind you would suggest.
so it's stylized in the same way as the TV program, but with an S in front. Um, I gave one of their tracks to Greg on Into the Music, and he seemed to like it. So yeah, this track is called Oh Ovary.
Jesus Christ. Okay. All right. Well, I will give Ovary a listen and come back and let you know what I think. I'm already suspect of this. But yeah, let me go.
It could have been a lot worse. Trust me, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, I can think of a few ways it could be. Yeah. Let me come back and let you know what I think. That's like a little bit of flanger or chorus being used, affecting that guitar sound.
Base of my spine, I'm aware of my vertebrae. I couldn't feel them as they crumble away. I'd rather my pain lasted for months and years than the hurricane I've made you endure. All I can say is I'm sorry. Oh, oh, over it. Oh, over it. I'm banging on your walls, just like hundreds of me before.
Interesting start. Okay, I really like the way the guitar sort of started in with that almost like affected style, like again flanger or chorus or something, but not like overkill on it, just enough to give the guitar sort of its own sound. And then he comes in and he's got kind of this like lazy, dreamy quality to his vocal delivery. There's something subdued about it, and I thought that was kind of interesting. But then it just sounded a bit, even before it kicked off there, and it started to develop a little bit more. It had this kind of muddled sound. I don't know, like it's almost like the band is over in another building with a Campbell soup can tied to a string, and they're playing into it, and I'm in the other building with the other end of the string and another can, and I'm listening to it through that. So about the production quality of this, take nothing away from the music or the intent of the musicians when they wrote it. So far that there's interest there. I think this is more of a, I don't know, for me, a production taste that I'm kind of taking a little bit of an issue with. But hey, we're only a minute into this 4-minute song, so let's see where we go from here. Maybe things change, or there is, I realize the intent behind the use of this kind of sound. But yeah, let's check it out.
Nothing to say. You know all the
right, so I gotta say, if he's using ovary as sort of a name or a way to reference the person that he's talking about, it seems a bit reductive to sort of look at them as just this organ, especially one like an ovary, and given as part of the reproductive system. It just seems, I don't know, if a woman wrote me a poem or a song and called it Dear Scrotum, I'd be like, Jesus Christ. Now maybe something's flying over my head and I'm not picking up on it, but and it's probably tongue in cheek, but it seems a little reductive to me. I don't know. That's just me. You guys can tell me I'm being too PC and quit being a snowflake or whatever, but it just seems odd. I don't know many women that would like to be referenced as ovary, but hey, that's just me. Some overdrive on that bass. Lead? No. It's twice that where that they've done that, and I think it's going to go into like this lead guitar motif, and it doesn't. So they faked me out twice on that. Kudos to you guys. You got me. And yeah, there's like there's this cacophony of sound. It's an interesting way to play with dynamics. This loud, quiet, loud, all in like one, not from one part to one part, but just all in a part. Interesting stuff. I like it. But this is going to be an interesting one for me, right? Where there are aspects of this that I do not like, and there are aspects of it that I do like. So yeah, let's see where we go from here. Nice bass.
You've become prophetic like a Bronte.
Like a what? You've become prophetic like a... And that line was used earlier in the song too, and I couldn't catch what that last bit was. I'm sure John will help me out. Probably John's going to help me out with a lot of this one, if I'm being honest. So it's not one of my favorites that I've been given here. But there were interesting aspects to it. So there's kind of like this... I think a lot of my issue comes with the production choices in this one, or how it was mixed or edited. It just seems like at times too much, and it muddies the water, and you can't pick out things. It just becomes like loud noise. And I don't mean to offend anyone. I'm sure that there are songs that I've offered up on this channel that people didn't like, and same with John. But this is just a lot for me to chew on right now and to digest. And I'm always open to giving a song a second listen after this sort of the reaction period settles down, and I can just go back and revisit it and kind of give it another listen, perhaps with a more educated mind via John and a more open mind via the discussion that we have. But yeah, this one, I don't know. I found I'm gonna need to know more about this ovary and what he's alluding to. Surely it can't just be, um, kind of a replacement word for "oh baby" or "oh girl" or "oh Samantha" or whatever, right? Like that's. But maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it's all fun and tongue in cheek, and maybe this is more like, teenage angsty music, which I still gravitate to from when I was a teenager. Now, this probably predates that, but I understand everybody kind of wants to go back to that and oftentimes relive the nostalgia of it. But yeah, I've got to learn more about this to better understand it, to either better educate my own opinion of it as it stands, or perhaps to alter my opinion of it as I learn more about it from the man, the myth, and the legend himself, John. So hopefully he can shed some light on it for me. Let's get back to him.
Hazy Fantasy is back. So you had to listen to Smash banging on their ovaries. What did you think?
Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts for this one. Some good, some not so. It was an interesting experience listening to this song. So promising start. It starts off with this like chord progression that sounds like it's maybe affected by flange or a chorus pedal, though not ham-handedly, not like turned up to 11. And I really, really liked that. Loved the sound that it provided. And then the singer joins, and he has this slightly lazier, subdued delivery to the vocals at this juncture. That coupled with the sound of the guitar gives it almost this dreamscape-like sound, which I again really enjoy. And then the drums come shuffling in for a bit before the distortion firmly kicks off as the singer calls out the titular line. And at this point, it's where they start to lose me a little bit. The mix in this song is very muddled for my ear. And honestly, I feel like the band is playing like it's like the band is in another building playing into a Campbell soup can that is tied to a string that runs into the building that I'm in, and I'm listening through the other Campbell soup can. There's just a lot going on without any, I don't know, without a very deft hand kind of working on the levels of things. So it all seems everything is playing at the same level, and it's just a lot. It's hard for me to decipher and comb through this. So that was an interesting experience. They lost me a little bit there. And then at the 145 mark, Harold's in this another shift with the guitar distortion and the singer calling out to Ovary, seemingly lamenting his past actions while trying to win back its affection. And at this point, I have to say it. It seems, and look, you guys can make fun of me or you can educate me on why I'm wrong, and I'm totally open to it. This is one listen that I've given this, but it seems a little reductive to, use Ovary as a representation of the love you lost or are aiming to capture the attention of. And I realize at this point it's probably tongue in cheek, and they're just having some fun. But if a girl were to write a song or a poem about me called "Oh Scrotum," in the same vein as this, I don't know how much I would swoon over that. So it just kind of made me laugh a little bit, and it made me scratch my head as well. You could fill in the blanks when I'm done with my rant here. Around the 220 mark, there's some great toying with sound dynamics where in just seconds there is this loud, quiet, loud shifting happening. And we've talked about that before where it's like goes from a quiet verse to a loud chorus or vice versa. But within the same part of a song to go loud, quiet, loud like that is really interesting to me. And I do appreciate the sort of manic and frenetic nature of employing that. So I thought that was pretty cool. This continues for a bit until finally it lays into the loud portion, and there is this cacophony of sound again that crashes through the speakers. And again, this could have used some refining during the recording and production processes, but I like what they're going for. Like I can say that I think it's less on them than it is on the production of it, which may have been their choice as well. So I don't know if they're completely absolved or whatever, but some loud, almost stuttered chord strikes give way to what sounds like the introduction to a lead guitar bit around the 3 minute mark. And you hear these bends on the electric guitar, and it sounds like the perfect beginning of what will be a lead, and it doesn't do it. It just carries on a little bit, and then it does it again, and again it doesn't like resolve itself with a lead. So they're kind of fucking with me. They're which I guess hats off to them, because it's not, they're turning expectations on their head, which is cool and meta, and that's neat and all, and so I appreciate that. Still wish there would have been a lead in there somewhere. They could have, fooled me twice and then snuck it in there on the third one, but alas they didn't. Instead, we go back to what I believe is the chorus before the song eventually winds down to this near halt. And you get these slides a little bit on the strings as you're like trudging along with this sort of like the end of the song. And the tone shifts back into this sleepy one that he started the song with. And he says something like, and this line is said before, I believe, in the chorus. And I'll be damned if every single time I don't catch that last goddamn word and it's annoying the shit out of me. But as you have become prophetic like a, and I can't make out the last word. And then the song ends. So I know that that's probably integral to the whole operation here. It is the resolution of that sentence and that repeated statement. So it'd be nice to know what that is. I'm just pretty sure it wasn't Ovary. I'm mixed feelings about this song for many of the reasons I alluded to earlier in the whole review and reaction. There were elements that worked, and some to me that didn't, but seemed well intended, and perhaps could have been worked out if production and editing had gone different routes. But the lyrics seemed a bit odd upon just this one listen, as I've kind of illustrated before, and perhaps even a bit crass without any payoff or underlying genius to them. But the music was far too muddled for my taste. And again, it's just one listen, and I admittedly didn't catch as much as I would have liked or have done with other songs in the past. But this is where I need you to help me better understand the song and the band. So hopefully you could shed light on this that kind of helps me see it differently, or that will educate my second listen as I go in to give this thing another try, because I don't know if this is necessarily fair, throwing all of this judgment at a song I've only heard once. So please.
No, fair enough. Yeah, this is a great song and great attitude to it. And yeah, you've missed the mark on the meaning of it completely.
Okay.
And yeah.
Thank you. Honestly, I was hoping I missed the mark. With all the sound that was happening during those large, like louder bits, it was hard for me to really attach to any of these lyrics. And then really the only thing I caught was "Oh Ovary," which just on face value is like might as well be WTF. So please show me where I went wrong on this.
Yeah, I will say about this band, they're sort of you get this phrase used a lot, this sort of punk revival, and most of it is absolute bullshit. These were real punk.
And I got punk vibes for sure.
I mean, proper, not this bullshit that came in the noughties. It has nothing to do with punk whatsoever. And anyone who sort of like does 3 power chords reckons they're punk, and they're not. These guys really were the real deal, and they're really funny with it, because they are a really interesting blend of sincerity. They're very literate, feminist, in your face, also subtle as a brick sometimes, and really sort of almost controversial, I guess. So, but definitely sort of confronting. So it's a real interesting blend. I will just say this about the album. It was kind of a kickback as well, to overproduce really clean sounding so-called punkish stuff. So they wanted something that sounded closer to their live sound. So of course they made it fucking muddy.
Yeah,
that's just what they wanted to do. And
I admire that they turned their nose up to what was the production choice of the time, which in its own way was very anti-punk. When you're tidying up sounds that much, it could be overkill. Now, for my personal taste, I feel like they went too far on the other side of that. But I respect where they're coming from and why they did it, for sure. If that's
I saw them live a couple of times, and they're honestly one of the loudest bands I've ever seen. And one of the most energetic, 3-piece as well, and they're fucking awesome. But I think what you're saying is correct to a certain extent. What they did, but it's very short-sighted, because it would appeal to people who already know them in a certain time. So 30 years later, it doesn't have that same. So wow, these guys sound so. It just sounds like this isn't done very well.
It's
You know what I
almost
mean?
like
'Cause you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't
it's
get it if you didn't know. You wouldn't.
it's like the musical equivalent of an inside joke. Where like, yes, certain people are really gonna love it because they know what you're doing, but like if you're just listening to these guys as I was in this situation, it's like I think they went too far one way. But yeah, go ahead, please, because I'm already starting to get a clearer picture here.
Yeah. So yeah, you're totally right, and because of that and some of the choices they made, they become quite insular or self-contained as a band, where they have the capacity to be actually quite big. And so anyway, British punk stroke post-punk band formed in Welwyn Garden City, England in 1984, comprising of Ed Borey vocals, guitar, Salvatore Alessi on bass, and Rob Haig on drums. So the British music, I think we've spoken about this before, the British music press were very enthusiastic about this band, and they created their own scene. Nonsense. It was called New Wave of New Wave. I think we've spoken about this with These Animal Men. It's absolute bollocks, and there's a horrible label.
Yeah.
So they bunged in people like Echo Belly, Sleeper, for fuck's sake, and These Animal Men into this. And of course, nothing ever happened with it. It's silly. Them and These Animal Men, interestingly, were just of the time. They're about a year, 2 years too early for Britpop. Otherwise, they could have easily been lumped in with that, and they would have sold a couple of noughts on the end of their numbers. But this band, short-lived, 3 albums, 3 EPs, 5 singles. So the first 2 singles were taken from their Smash EP, which is also sometimes known as Spring. And the first single, Real Surreal, which is what Greg reacted to, a re-recorded version of that single.
Okay.
And then their second single is what got me into the band. Prepare yourself for some agricultural Anglo-Saxon terminology here, and it's not that, so my mate went out and got me this. See if I can get it a bit closer. It's very shiny.
Yes, it is quite shiny.
So this is their second single, and it came right. Well, I was got to buy the bullet here. So it came out on Valentine's Day in 1993, and it's red vinyl, as you can see, and it's single-sided. The B-side is a limited edition, and the track of this is entitled "Lady Love Your Cunt." Now that title comes from a 1971 German Greer feminist essay. As you can imagine, the old the Aussie shock feminist, she used to do things like that, obviously, to grab attention, and it's a deliberate way. So, again, it's one of these things where if you didn't know about it, you say these people are being, using the derogatory terms about, but it's actually a feminist point of view, and they're sort of, trying to reappropriate that word if that's the case, much like some people did in America with the N-words,
Yeah.
Whether that's a wise choice or not's another matter, but there you go. So it's an absolute bagging tune as well. So it came off this EP, which is 5 songs. Absolutely stunning. I love it. Again, it's that punky vibe to it, which is brilliant. Smash then became the first band ever to appear on Top of the Pops without having released a single. So the EP got into the charts, and they played the song Shame after that EP got to number 26 in the album charts. The only of theirs that ever charted, actually. Apart from, they had a hit single for a while. It was called, in brackets, I Want To, in brackets, Kill Somebody. It was only available in the shops for 1 day in 1994, and it got to, again, number 26 in the singles charts. 26, their lucky number, and this is it. I'll take it out of the again. I got it on CD and on vinyl when it came out. It's a lovely little track there, and it was slightly controversial because
You don't say.
The subject matter, particularly about killing certain members of the Tory government at the time. So the opening line, which is a great opening line, is the statistician studies Titian. The hand up his arse is a politician's. And
That's a good
again,
line.
it's silly and clever at the same time. It's very good.
Yeah.
And the chorus goes on about I want to kill somebody. Margaret Thatcher, Jeffrey Archer, Michael Heseltine, John Major, Virginia Bottomley, especially. Then he goes on about how he'll take a knife through their throats and everything, and then he says he's a pacifist and doesn't approve of capital punishment. So it's very funny, and people didn't really get the joke. And yeah, anyway, so this track is from their debut album, Self Abused, which is another great title, and there it is there. It wasn't a commercial success,
Ah, you don't say.
but it was well received by the critics. I have to say, it is patchy in places, but it's an absolute bangers in there. Trouser Press wrote the album blusters along on a distorted bass bottom and a scaly guitar aggression. Think the Stranglers and Gang of Four fed through a Steve Albini noise processor. For all its superficial discouragement, meaning the sound of it, however,
Yeah.
Self-Abuse is considerably better than it appears. Bory's voice, when he isn't roaring, is light and appealing, and the song's melodies and ideas are worth digging through. Besides dropping reference to Sir David Attenborough, Michael Jackson, Bob Dylan, the Starship Enterprise, and the Brontes, the literary band also worked over cultural politics and personal challenges, including suicide. And The Guardian wrote, Ed Bory was surely one of the great lyricists of the 90s, up there with Jarvis Cocker. Drugs Again has one of the best opening lines in rock. Did I affect your life? If I did, how and why? He was good at these confrontational hooks. Another Love begins with a muttered line, Bob Dylan sucks my dick. And Real Surreal must be the only pop song to rhyme One Love, One Nation with defenestration over a torment of wild guitars. So there's quite a bit of fun going on as well.
Yeah.
I'll get into the lyrics and a bit more about it. So you've been on my mind like a tumor, eating away at my every thought. At the base of my spine, I'm aware of my vertebrae. I can feel them as they crumble away. I'd rather my pain lasted for months and years than the hurricane I've made you endure. All I'd say is I'm sorry. Oh, Ovary. Oh, Ovary, I'm banging on your walls just like hundreds of me before. Oh, Ovary, come with me. Together we can each other pleasure. You've become prophetic like a Bronte, tormented by romance and resigned that way. You say I'm pathetic, but you know all the answers to your questions. And when you ask me, I've got nothing to say. You know all the answers anyway. You just want to know why I couldn't tell you the truth at the time. Oh, Ovary. Oh, Ovary, I'm banging on your walls just like hundreds of me before. Oh, Ovary, come with me. Together, let's make babies. Oh, Ovary, responsibility falls at the feet of you and me. You've got to believe. Oh, Ovary, on reflection, I can see this great big hole in me where you used to be. Oh, memories are like nightmares when they tear. Oh, memories are like nightmares when they tear. Oh, memories are like nightmares when they tear. You've seen love turn to hate. You've seen better days. Now you're afraid it can turn back again and you'll never be the same. You've seen love turn to hate. You've seen better days. Now you're afraid it can turn back again. Mini guitar break. Of course, it's not going to be a proper solo because they're punks. Oh, Ovary, responsibility falls at your feet, and you and me, you've got to believe. Oh, Ovary, on reflection, I can see this great big hole inside of me where you used to be. Oh, Ovary, did we? Oh, Ovary, did we? You become prophetic like a Bronte. Song's beginning is such a he does use other feminist lines that are very interesting and not sort of standard. What's the line? I should have read this down actually. What is it? Most problems or whatever were made by man or government, not me. I was made by a woman. That's his kind of like take on it. So this is really about the sort of idea of females and feminism and how it's perceived, and you be apologetic, but yeah, let's make babies. You know, this worship, and then there's this whole, and people replacing their mother figure with something else, all this sort of stuff. So it's the idea of womanhood basically, and then when it all comes down to it, for most people, redacted sex.
So here's my
That's my
question. I see what he's going for, and I appreciate what he's going for. The masses, were they more just offended by his use of this kind of language, those that took issue with it, or was it more of an issue of appropriation? Like, you're using feminist language and feminine power that should be pioneered and used by women first. Do you understand what like it's almost like you use the N
it wasn't
word.
an issue. It wasn't
Okay.
an issue in this country at all.
Yeah.
Not even that single. The only one was an issue when he said he wanted to chop the heads off of politicians.
Yeah,
and stick them on
well,
a
I can
spike.
see. I can see
Yeah,
where that would.
but that's the song that's repeated the most on YouTube, and people listen to it even now, especially after the last 3 elections.
Yeah.
And they've replaced it with pictures of David Cameron and Boris Johnson on.
Well, I was going to say, I thought that was a picture of Boris Johnson on that album that you held up there. I thought it was one of our last 2 leaders. Yeah, on the cover.
On either side of the pod, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Is that a blonde-haired clown? I'm familiar with those.
I think, to be honest with you, although the music that they put out to the whole was fairly sort of muscular and testosterone, like this, punk. Actually, I think really it found left-thinking people sort of meandered towards it. So I don't think it was that much of an issue, and I think 90% of the people who got that single would know about the Jim and Greer reference.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be a random guy just it's got the C word, I'm going to buy that. Yeah. It wouldn't have been. So, just to continue the story, in 1995, they brought out the EP Another Love, which I really thought I had on vinyl, but I can't seem to find it anywhere. I know what the cover. I have got it somewhere, but I couldn't find it. And then they did a final single, and then the band split the following year, in 1996. They reformed again in 2004. Did some live stuff, then put out a second album in 2007 and a third album in 2017. I've not really listened. I've heard snippets of them, and it's not, for me, it's not as strong. People may argue, but Ed Borey, the singer, has since released his solo album, What Goes On, in 2019. I have downloaded that, and it's half decent. He's mellowed, as you can imagine. It's 30 odd years since he was shouting, but it's okay. Perhaps I haven't mellowed as much as he has. I will say that first EP and a couple of singles, it was truly exciting to listen to. There's a few themes that run through his music in those early years. One was the suicide of his flatmate in Welwyn Garden City. He did a number of songs about it, and he doesn't seem to have ever gotten over it. And he keeps referring to it. There's the feminist angle. There's all about ambition and how about he wants his band to be well known, but then they constantly choose the paths of most resistance every time. So you can say we want to be big, and then they go and do stuff which isn't. They're never going to be big. But they did have integrity is another really big key word for him, and it certainly had that. And I say a lot of fun. I thought you would find the production of this interesting, and the little mischievous devil in me. Well, I picked it for that reason.
Yeah, well, it goes to show you how important context is when you're doing anything, and especially when you're like listening to art, and a song or an artist for the first time. It does make a lot more sense, and I'll be completely honest with you, the punk aspect of it all kind of led me to believe to not take everything on direct face value or my first visceral inclination upon hearing some of this stuff. But at the same time, it's worth bringing up because this is it seems to be a reoccurring issue with them in their music throughout their existence, where it may have not landed the way they wanted it to, but their intent can't be mistaken. It's all about execution and interpretation. One of those they're responsible for, and the other the listener is responsible for. So you've got to come into this stuff with an open mind, a little bit.
Yeah, and I think also as an artist, you kind of know if you're putting stuff out there and it's open for interpretation, you kind of know that, you know, some people will take to it, some people won't.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, Beyonce, question of doubt, she knows exactly what people are going to pretty much make of her stuff.
Mhm.
You know, and that's why it's a marketable. You can reach when it's sort of like can be taken different ways. You know that it's going to fall through as many cracks as it's going to hit bullseyes. You know,
Mhm.
so these guys, you know, they're going to kid themselves. They're going to be massive, but there's no way they would ever be huge
Right.
because of their attitude. But that's one of the things I loved about them. And you know me, I'm a sucker for that sort of punk sort of spirit and noise
Yeah.
and lack of craft as well. Sometimes when things are really shambolic, I find it very endearing. Other times it's
Yeah.
really annoying. So again, it just depends. But I mean, I just remember seeing them in the Princess Charlotte in Leicester, with, you know, the walls was fucking sweating because it
Yeah.
was a small place, and my ears were ringing for 2 days afterwards. It was fucking awesome.
I can imagine.
And they all had, and I thought I had one as well. That probably went many moons ago, but the merchandise was this sort of that army olive green T-shirt with Smash stamped across, just
Okay.
like,
Like MASH.
yeah, and it just looked, and all three of them were wearing it on the stage as well, but half the crowd had them, and I'm sure I bought one as well. And again, it was just awesome, you know,
Yeah.
simple things. But there you go. So there's a little snippet of early 90s angry young men for you from Brilliant.
Well, thank you for sharing, and thank you for the, like I said, much needed context behind it
Yeah.
all in the band. Yeah, for sure.
I might give you another one actually, which is not quite as visceral as this, and it is actually well produced.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, feel free to. Even if it wasn't, I mean, again, I would be seeing them and listening to them through a different lens with the added advantage of perspective, which I lacked this first go around.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like trying to explain to someone Guernica or something when they've never heard of the Spanish Civil War. You know, it's just no chance, no chance.
Yeah.
But there you go. I should wrap things up. Folks out there, tell us what you think of this little ditty. Did it tweak your interest, or did it turn you off? Please drop some comments and let us know. I'm quite prepared for both. Hit the like button if you like this. That'll be interesting as well. But yeah, we love to hear from you. So please drop comments about this. People who know Smash, who have seen that stupid manufactured new wave scene. There were some decent bands around there. Very interesting bands as well. But the evil British music press got it wrong. Thank God they've gone off and died as well, pretty much anyway. So that's cool. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. We really appreciate everybody that helps support this channel. We're growing onwards and upwards, and we couldn't do without any of your help. So thanks a bunch.
Mhm.
That being said, thanks again so much for watching, and we'll see all of you on our next jolly adventure of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.